The Adventure of the Silly Bunny, Chapter 5. With his house underwater, Benny had no choice but to hop away, leaving everything behind. All he had now was the fur on his back. To make matters worse, he had nowhere to go, but he also had no reason to stay. So off he hopped, skipped, and jumped to a future unknown. The spring weather was fickle. One afternoon the blazing sun was so hot he could barely move without having heat palpitations. But that night was so cold he shivered to stay warm. He slept under logs to stay out of the rain, or nestled deep in the bushes to stay out of sight. After days and nights of wandering the forest highways, Benny tumbled upon a ferny meadow civilization of rabbits. Finally, he was among his own kind, rabbits. He was so overjoyed he did a little jig at the intersection of two trails that met in the center of town. With all this traveling and traipsing through the mud, Benny's coat wasn't as clean as he liked to keep it. He could sure use a shower and a warm, clean bed. "Excuse me," he asked of a business rabbit passing through the intersection. "I was wondering if you could help me out. Where can I get a good night's sleep?" But the business rabbit didn't hop over to talk, didn't pause to give directions, didn't even look at him. The business rabbit just kept going as though he hadn't heard Benny at all. How strange, Benny thought. Maybe his hearing isn't as good as mine. Another bunny, this time a delivery rabbit, approached the intersection from the other side. "Hi there," Benny smiled with warmth. "Could you tell me—" But before he could finish his sentence, the delivery rabbit passed him by without even glancing in his direction. This is too bizarre. Two deaf bunnies? Unheard of, Benny reasoned. A third hare scampered his way, and this time Benny wasn't taking any chances. He started shouting, "Hi! Can you help me out?" The hare stopped, stared at Benny, and then hightailed it in the other direction. Benny was stumped. "He had to have heard me," he muttered aloud. "They can't all be hard of hearing." As he continued, he spoke more boldly. "What a crazy place! What an absolutely crazy place! I've never heard of such a thing. Bunnies are supposed to snuggle and sniff, not scuttle and biff. What is wrong with everybody?" By this time, Benny was shouting, hopping around the now crowded intersection, surrounded by austere rabbits who were keeping their distance and whispering into each other's ears. "Settle down there, fella," a patronizing voice boomed from behind. "What seems to be the trouble here?" Benny turned to see a uniformed rabbit carrying a stick part the crowd and quickly take a fighting position a few feet away. "There's no trouble. I just want to know where I can find a place to bed down for the night." "We have a law against sleeping outside here in the meadow. Health code. You'd best be moving along into the forest." Benny was confused. "Health code?" "I said move along. We don't want any burrowless rabbits begging in the meadow." "I wasn't begging," Benny explained. "I only wanted directions to—" "A troublemaker, are you?" the uniformed enforcer concluded. "We'll see about that." And with one swift kick, Benny had the air knocked out of him, felt dizzy, and toppled to the ground. "Nothing to see here, folks. Go back to your burrows." As the meadow rabbits began to disperse, Benny, in his dazed state, heard them whispering, "Give him some grains, and he'll turn it into beer." And, "Did you see him dancing around? He's tweaking." And, "You can't trust rabbits who don't have a burrow. All they do is steal." Benny staggered onto his back paws. "What are you talking about? I'm just like you." We've heard enough from you. Come with me to the dock. He didn't dare disobey for fear of being sucker-kicked in the gut again. Not knowing where he was going or what a dock was, Benny followed to a small creek running along the outskirts of the meadow. Several small logs bobbed near the shore, protected from the current by several enormous boulders. "Hop on a log," the uniformed rabbit ordered. "We're sending you downriver. They can deal with you." Benny assessed the situation. He raised his head, looked his jailer in the eye, and said, "I cannot thank you enough for sending me off. These are the unfriendliest rabbits I've ever met. I cannot believe one rabbit would treat another this way. The last place I would ever want to live is surrounded by a bunch of scared rabbits. The only difference between you and me is that you carry a stick and have a place you call home. When our circumstances flip, please knock on my door, where you will be welcomed in." And with that, Benny jumped onto a log, set sail, and left the paranoid snots behind. To be continued.